Why do you have a book in front of your face? Leemus. Leemus. Time to get serious here.
Hello, my friend. Good to see you. Is it that time again? Time for another heroic haunt? I know this is
Oh,
strange form to see me in, but it is me, your friend, Leemus. You remember me as I was, not as I am. So what's up, everybody? It is, in fact, me. I took my whole headset off.
it was me, Barry. Anybody that gets that reference, have fun with that one.
Oh, I'm back.
It was me, Barry.
So, yeah, guys. What's up? So we're back with another heroic haunt. And I was reading the same book that I was in episode 1, which is The Invisible Man, as I cosplayed, as my little figurine suggests. Big fan of The Invisible Man. He's actually my favorite of the Universal monsters. And that is your clue for tonight's theme. We're talking about menacing mad scientists. Menacing, maniacal, malicious, all the words you can think of. Mad scientists. We're talking,
Oh God, I've caused problems. There we go. Got it fixed.
we're
Professionals.
talking, we are professionals, only professionals here.
Right.
We're talking people like the Invisible Man. We're talking Dr. Frankenstein, Jekyll and Hyde for some of the classics. But we're going to be diving into the comic book world as we did before.
Why didn't I think Jekyll and Hyde's a Batman villain too?
Is it really?
I believe so.
Interesting.
Remember, maybe.
Well, I mean, as you heard it there, we are diving into some comic book mad scientists and supervillains that would fit into the mad scientist category. So again, like last time, we're going to be looking at 3 individually, specifically today. But now, granted, again, there are, as Dotch even said, there's more. There's a Jekyll and Hyde character in Batman. I know that you've got characters like Otto Octavius would be considered a mad scientist.
Victor
Kurt Connor,
Freeze.
Victor Freeze,
But
Mad
these are
Hatter,
people.
maybe.
We're looking at people today that have actually pretty much done it to themselves, more or less. I mean, sure,
Experiments
Victor
gone wrong.
Freeze was an experiment gone wrong, but
Well, right. I mean, well, and like I said, like obviously there's others. I mean, again, that would fit that category. It's
there's
just for
so many
this
actually.
season, right? We had to narrow it down to 3, and we went with kind of a not really a top 3, but we went with 3 that we felt would best embody this spooky season right now, and that we could discuss. So, without further ado, I'm going to get right into it, and we're going to start in that DC Rogues Gallery with Dr. Robert Kirk Langstrom, also known as the Man Bat.
Not
So,
to be
as we
confused with the Batman.
not to be confused with the Batman, he's the Man Bat. You see how original that is? And
To be fair,
once you
some of these pictures are creepy.
once you see the picture, there is no confusing him for Batman. Somehow a lot of the Gotham thugs, I think, do that all the time, right? They're just like, oh god, it's the Batman. He's eating people, and it's like, no, he doesn't. He doesn't eat. Bruce, do you? Oh, okay. So Man Bat was introduced in Detective Comics number 400 in June 1970 as an enemy of the superhero Batman. In 2017, Man Bat was ranked as IGN's 16th best Batman villain. Now, I feel it's a missed opportunity. I wish I would have gotten the list so we could have guessed who some of the top contenders was or who was above Man Bat. That'll be another video sometime. We'll look at IGN's top Batman Rogues Gallery or Batman villains. But yeah, back in 2017, Man Bat was ranked number 16, which as many villains as Batman has and like infamous ones, I feel like 16 is a pretty good number. That's a pretty decent spot, right?
16 would be pretty good, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean,
I'm
I
pretty
gotta
sure I looked up how many villains there are for Batman. It was like 60 something.
Right. So
Which,
yeah, 16. You're doing good. You're top 20. You're in the top
you know,
echelon there. All right. So let's get into the backstory here. Dr. Kirk Langstrom, a zoologist who specialized in chirop chiropterology. I know I'm pronouncing that wrong. I had to look it up. It basically just means somebody who studies like bats and mammal or
would it be
what
chiroptery or
chiroptery
chiropterology? Because they kind of chirp. Even bats chirp a
possibly.
little.
Right. So basically, what I had seen on this is it is basically, you know, they are from the order Chiroptera, um, which basically also their forelimbs are adapted as wings. So that's a big part of that. So basically, he was specializing in that. He was a scientist specializing in that. He developed an extract intended to give humans a bat's acute sonar sense. And like all great scientists, he tested it on himself. So his intentions were actually good. He wanted to help people. He wanted to actually. It was supposed to be developed as a way of helping cure people with deafness, um, so that they could use that kind of sonar sense and kind of. It was supposed to really help progress humankind. It's all meant to be good, well and good, but he should have ran a few more lab tests in the lab before testing it on himself. But hence mad scientist. The extract worked. Of course it did. He got
Why
sonar
wouldn't it?
ability. He got sonar abilities with a little bit of a side effect there. It turned him into a monstrous human bat hybrid creature. So as the pictures do show you, side effects may occur. Results may vary.
Although I do have
Um,
to say, I'm still trying to figure out why there's jewelry on this one from the Arkham game.
I can't remember, to be quite honestly. I remember playing it. Like I said, it was a big. I remember hating that whole thing because they utilized Man Bat to a full jump scare every time you would go. You didn't know which roof it. You'd go up to ruin the roof and you'd be fine. You go up to the next one, and then
Did you ever
eventually you
have
got to
to?
where you.
I was gonna say you eventually would have to have fought him.
Yeah, you eventually do kind of take him down and stuff, but it takes you forever. Like he's just lurking around the skies of Gotham, and he keeps getting you with the jump scare every time. It's like that old commercial when we were kids, where the car is like driving on the little country road, and then the zombie pops up. Yeah, kind of like that. My first memories of jump scares as a kid. Um, here, sure, okay. So, Man Bat eventually reunited with his estranged fiancee Francine.
What? Whoa,
Francine
whoa,
Lane.
whoa! Why is there always a Francine?
Right. There's
There's,
always
it's always a Francine. When it comes to villains, it's always a Francine or Joe
right.
West's version.
Or Nora. Nora is pretty popular. I know obviously Nora Freeze, but I feel like there's other Noras
There's a lot of
that
Noras in
in like
DC.
comic book stuff. Yeah.
There's a
Um,
lot of Marthas too.
there's a lot of Marthas, as we well
Why did you
know.
say that name?
My mother's name's Martha. Martha Stewart. What?
What?
I don't know.
You're
So he reunited with his estranged fiance, and apparently they weren't too estranged because he convinced her to take the same extract he had. I don't know necessarily. I don't. Again, I've not read those comics necessarily. Most of the Man Bat experiences from the animated series, the video games, and from later comics. But I'm just trying to figure out how you run into your estranged wife and you're like, hey, or no, fiance. Sorry, they're not married. Fiance, and you're like, hey, babe. So, I know,
I
I'm
know
supposed to be
things have been
picking.
weird between us, but
I,
why don't you
I
try
know,
this out? I think
yeah,
it'll
I
help
know I'm
us a
supposed to
lot.
be picking the tux up in like an hour, but I'm gonna need to redo the measurements on it. Because I'm a giant disfigured monster. Want to join me? You know,
Well,
let's
the more
upgrade the
thing,
vows.
why did she say okay?
Right. She was just as crazy as he was, apparently. Believing oh here, sorry, guess I should have read the next line. Believing that the man she loved was still within Man Bat, Francine drank the formula and transformed into a similar bat-like creature. This is like the reverse Beauty and the Beast, right?
Right.
it's like it's
So,
like if you're gonna be ugly forever, I'll be ugly forever with you.
so they dubbed
Oh,
her. Who would have thought? She bat, right? Like man bat,
right.
she bat,
She bat.
he wee,
Clever.
he bat, she bat,
He
ooh
we
wee
be
wee,
we
wee
wumbo bat.
bat.
Yeah. One bat.
One bat.
One bat.
Uh,
God.
they go to get married actually, and
Yeah, they actually go have a
They
wedding.
get interrupted by Batman, who's like, "I object. Of course, I object. Who wouldn't object?"
Right.
And
Is
he
there any reason?
administers the
Is
cure.
there any reason why these two freaks of nature should not marry and have spawns of their own?
Everything about it should be objected. What do you mean? But he administers a cure, and they turn back to normal.
For a while.
Well, they don't stay that way. Every now and then they for some reason freak out. I don't know if it's like a quarter moon or what causes it, but they
Just
sometimes.
wait. Can we bring this up? Can we bring this up? Okay.
What?
What is it with cures in comics? Okay, right?
They never
Cures
work.
in comics never last. They're always temporary. You look at
There's
like
a joke
X-Men.
there, but I refuse to make it. Well,
Oh,
I'll
I
tell
know.
you it later.
No, I know what you're thinking because I've been thinking the same thing with this whole episode. I didn't think about it till we started this episode, but I have been thinking about the same conversation I know you're wanting to have with me about this. We will have that off camera for our viewers' sakes because leaving personal opinions out of it, but we'll come back to this. I know what you're thinking. Anyhow, but yeah, cures in comics.
They just don't exist.
In comics, specifically in comics, we don't. What about in real world? Cures in comics never work.
No, they don't.
But yeah, and so it's always temporary. It's like it worked for a
Kinda.
time. Well, wasn't it the same way with? Well, same thing. Even in the last episode, we was talking about crap. Now I just went blank. Morbius and how Spider-Man's blood actually cured him for a while, and it doesn't say why it did or didn't.
Well,
Why it did. Why it
I'll
worked.
give you the real world answer. Plot armor. Plot
Fair
armor.
enough.
Why didn't
Well,
that?
see,
Why is it that Michael Myers can get shot 19 times and never die? Plot armor.
Right. He's supposed to be a human being. Yeah. Fair enough. Fair enough. Jay.
As they reverted back and forth, they tried to move on past it and make a family, but I mean,
them spawns I was talking about.
oh, I don't know what
but
that
they're
would
cured
be like.
now, so it's okay. What could possibly go wrong?
Oh, I'm glad you asked that question actually, because although he's considered a villain, when he started freaking out and turning back into this thing, he tinkered with it to make it into a, do air quotes with me, superhero. So
because
it didn't work.
Because
completely.
nothing was wrong with him making the serum in the first place when he had good intentions in. It's not like it's not like
Let's not
saying
get it twisted. He didn't do it because I want to be this big evil monster. He did it for the betterment of humanity, which God knows how many times we've heard.
But now he thinks, what does he think is going to be different? Because now he's like, well, now I'm going to use the serum for justice, and I'm like, but wasn't you doing that to begin with, and it went wrong? Like, what's changed? Nothing has changed, Kirk, except for you. You've got a freaky wife, and you're starting to have kids now.
You think they pop out with one bad ear and one regular ear? Like,
I don't know.
One's nose is normal and the other one's inverted like a bat.
I was going to say,
do they come
does
out?
the mom have to? Does mom hang upside down and the doctor waits down below with like the baby blanket? You know, there's some.
That would be like
too far.
That would be like one of them videos where they go to throw the mortar in and it just barely pops out of the chute. It's like it just at this moment they realize they effed up. God, we're terrible people. But anyway, he modifies the serum to control the transformations.
Okay.
Which kind of works.
Right.
And he keeps his intelligence.
No, it's kind of like Smart Hulk type deal. Yeah.
Well, he worked as a crime fighter, doing regular vigilante work and super criminal, i.e. anybody.
Did he?
But
I got to think. Okay, so sorry. I know sidebar, but I know we'll keep getting distracted and I keep interrupting you. But so many commentary I have to make on this.
It's fine. It's fine.
Do you think he went through the same problem when trying to come up with a crime fighter name? Because here's what I'm thinking. If I'm rebranding myself, right, I don't want to be Man-Bat anymore. That was me when I was a terrifying, freaky monster. I need a new name. And it's going to be like when you're playing a video game and you're in your character selection on an MMO and you're constantly, this name's taken. You know, how many different variants on Batman did he try that were already taken? Batman. Shoot, no, that's the guy that friggin' beat me up at my wedding. Batwing. No, dang it. Bat person, Bat Doctor, Doctor Bat. Like how many different
Dr.
usernames
Bat.
did he go? You like it?
That or he just calls himself like the Tab Nam.
Tab Nam.
Just
I like
reverse
Goth
his whole
Bat.
thing. Goth Bat.
Goth Bat.
I'm sure
Bat
that's
Ham.
Bat Ham. That's a vampiric pig.
Right. They get so confused when he shows
The
up.
Squiller just shows up. Sweet.
The Kirk shows up and everybody's like, "You're not who I called." They're like, "Wait, what are you talking about?"
You're definitely not the one you're not the swine I was looking for.
I was looking for Babe with wings, Wilbur with fangs.
God.
Goodness. Okay, so anyhow, he's a crime fighter now. Okay, how'd that go?
He's a crime fighter. It kind of goes okay. He actually transitions into a private detective in his human side.
Because I doubt there's many people franchising him. He has to be a private detective because I doubt there's many people on his human side. Okay, never mind. Maybe that might not be so bad. I mean, as long as he doctors his resume like the rest of us when we're looking for a job,
Well, his career as a crime fighter was constantly marred by personal conflicts, usually involving his family, go figure.
Right. He's got a fiance that's also a freaky bat person and kids
that are probably like
freaky bat people.
Half bat or like Eddie
Bat
Munster.
Baby. Golly.
He remained on good terms with the Bat family though. So
Batman,
Robin, Batwoman.
Well, right. I mean, at this point, he's a bat.
He usually assisted him whenever the his serum, which God forbid he didn't just destroy the one and only supply.
Well, no, he couldn't. He gave it to his wife and his kids, and in case his cousins or nieces and nephews wanted it, he had to save some.
Right, like Christmas time at the Kirk family,
at the Langstrom family. Yeah. Well, I mean, God forbid that this marriage doesn't work out for whatever reason, and he needs to give his new wife the serum.
Oh, good Lord! I didn't even think about that. But interestingly
or when his kids get married.
Oh God. Maybe they can just turn them by then, like a vampiric freak. I don't know.
Oh.
Talia Al Ghul.
We
did. Talia Al Ghul actually stole it to make an army of man-bat commandos.
Wow. Now, see, that sounds interesting. See, that's fascinating. That's look, he was doing it to cure stuff, and she turned it into a militant weapon. That's a Marvel villain motive right there. That sounds like some Marvel government level of thinking. It's like, oh, we could use this serum to cure deaf people, or we can make soldiers. Okay, but sir, they're freaky.
A sidebar on that, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. Yeah. Unfortunately, I found out that the U.S. agent or whatever is stronger than Captain America, and it makes me really mad. He can lift 10 tons, Captain America can only lift 7.
I can see that. I can see that.
Yeah. Well, anyway, we'll go to that at a different point. But
yeah, that's a different kind of like serum. Fun facts. All right, yeah, because I got the actual pages. Well, before we get into fun facts real quick, I do want to run down his abilities when transformed into man-bat form. It specified that.
Yeah, he can't say specifically.
Yes,
it's his kryptonite.
Specific. Yeah, it's. So when he's in man-bat form,
when he is specifically in the man-bat form, Leemus will tell you what they are.
They couldn't say there's not a version for when he's Dr. Langstrom, so he doesn't have any abilities there other than making terrible serums.
And decision to his wife, apparently.
Right. Superhuman strength.
Who would have
thought? Sharp claws, echolocation, sound manipulation. I wonder how that works. I have a theory.
Might be bunnies.
What?
It might be bunnies.
It might be bunnies. I picture when I hear sound manipulation, especially with something like echolocation and stuff, I think of Naruto.
Same.
Okay, so we're on the same page there. I keep thinking kind of the way their jutsu was the
But I
sound.
think in this sense, it would be he could probably screech loud enough that he could probably cause
Oh,
hallucinations because at certain
decibels. You're kind of like
decibels,
Black
you're
Canary
yeah.
type stuff, Banshee. Yeah. Okay, gotcha.
That's what
All right.
'cause I can faintly remember. I think they fought on top of a God, why can't I not think what they're called? It's Gotham City has when they float above what the Hindenburg
Blimp.
was. Blimps, yeah. That's a terrible reference, but that's the only thing I could think of.
Hindenburg.
Um, look, man, that's all I had. All right, I'm not proud
Hey,
of it,
hey,
but
look, when
I
you got to
feel
crash and burn.
God. Oh, that's a ouchies. Anyway,
I
I
guess we know who the villain
faintly,
tonight is.
yeah, I faintly remember them fighting on top of a blimp or something.
Yeah.
And they were like he was screeching a lot, and there was just looked like sound waves coming. I don't know. It's been a
So
long time.
you brought up this earlier. My first fun fact that I'm going to give you is actually one I'm going to homage back to what you was talking about earlier. Um, he does eventually come to be able to trigger transformation without the serum. So it gets to where he can. It's kind of linked in with that. So apparently, after Batman's supposed death, which has happened like 5 billion times, during the Battle for the Cow storyline, Kirk Langstrom begins to have haunting nightmares, dreaming that he turns into Man-Bat and ends the life of his wife, Francine. Kirk fears the worst when his wife goes missing. He takes the serum and uses his Man-Bat abilities to track her.
Of course
After
he does, because
battling
that makes any kind of sense.
after battling the Outsiders, that's right, Pony Boy, look out. And returning to normal, Langstrom is taken by Dr. Phosphorus. That's a lame name. I thought Man-Bat was lame, but Dr. Phosphorus sounds even worse. There, he discovers Dr. Phosphorus had taken Francine and reveals to Kirk that the serum is not needed to become Man-Bat. Kirk then changes into Man-Bat and saves his wife. That sounds like a lovely story. I don't know what Pony Boy and Stay Golden and all them, what the Outsiders had to do with any of this. He just find a bunch of greaser kids in the park before he
Good
goes saves his
Lord,
wife.
what's wrong with you?
Also, seriously, Dr. Phosphorus, come on. I thought Polka Dot Man was bad.
Well, I mean, it's
Um,
better than Milton.
Jay. So, on another occasion, in Action Comics number 600, Jimmy Olsen inadvertently put Superman into
In
a
a
cave
cave with the Man-Bat.
occupied by Man-Bat to protect him from kryptonite radiation that had reached the Earth following the explosion of Krypton. Which I don't know much about Superman, but didn't Krypton already explode when he was a baby? So who am I to judge?
Well, you got to
Um,
think it
Poor Krypton. How many
exploded.
times that place got to blow up?
I don't know how many times we got to watch Bruce Wayne's parents get shot in an alley, or Uncle Ben die.
Hey, same for Uncle Ben. Well, apparently Marvel decided no more Uncle Ben death.
Apparently, Batman decided no more of that too either.
Yeah.
At least the
Yeah,
Batfleck.
Marvel with the new Spider-Man, Marvel's like justice for Uncle Ben. We're putting a stop on it, okay? Cancel it. Yeah, so apparently Man-Bat helps calm a maddened Superman and then summons Hawkman who helps Superman overcome the radiation. So there he is helping people again.
Well, at least Hawkman's useful outside of the animated series because all he does in it is die.
Right. Well, that's all he does in most series.
Carter
Hawkman is
Hall is unfortunately one of the most killed people. He's almost like that one guy that God, who is it?
Sean Bean.
Yeah,
Yeah.
poor guy's died in more movies than anybody
One
else.
does not simply be Hawkman, not die. It also turns out that Kirk actually Man-Bat comes from a wealthy family, and his father was a very corrupt pharmaceutical businessman named Abraham Langstrom. He considered Kirk a failure, often comparing him to Bruce Wayne's success, as Thomas Wayne was Abraham's rival. I guess,
It's a
that's
dumb
going to come in.
thing. A really
Look,
dumb way to.
look at that Bruce Wayne kid. Look at what he's done. He's freaking Batman. So I'll be Man-Bat, Dad. There you go.
Look at him. His parents got murdered in an alley. What happened to me? I lived and you still suck. It's like, wow, Dad, thanks.
I'm peddling pills out,
I mean, he was
Fun time.
corrupt too. So
That's what I'm saying.
I
Yeah.
wonder. I wonder.
There was a whole thing.
Big
There was.
brain idea here. I wonder if Kirk Langstrom's father was part of the Court of Owls.
I do not know that, but I do know when I was doing my research, there is a separate occasion where, and you're not going to believe this because we talked about it earlier. We talked about being careful. Kirk's dad stole the serum, and Kirk had to help Batman to get the serum back from his own dad. Bad enough the League of Shadows got it, but your friggin' pharmacist dad works, stole the serum. He's like, "Ooh, I'll show him. I'll make some big bucks off of this."
You're a failure, son. But I'm glad you did this, so now I can steal it.
Yeah, and sell it, make a profit off of selling bat serums. I don't know what. How do you sell that at a pharmacy? What do you write? How do you write that prescription? I don't want you to take this serum twice a day, and keep a steady diet of crickets and moths. There's a whole other thing we can get into Killer Moth eventually. Talking about underrated or underknown Batman villain.
Yeah, but Killer Moth. Well, I guess it ain't the same as Firefly. Firefly's actually kind of cool to me.
Yeah, I like Firefly. I dig Garfield Lynns is his name.
Garfield something.
We're not here to talk about arsonists. We're here to talk about mad scientists. And you know who our next mad scientist for the night is?
He is the one, the only.
That's right. You heard it here first, Spider-Man.
The greenest.
Avenge me.
God. The greenest of them all, Mr. Norman Osborn. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up.
Good old Normie. Good old Normie. We love him. We love him. You heard it here first. Marvel Comics, character created by writer-editor Stan Lee and writer.
I will never, ever be able to see Green Goblin as anybody.
But Willem Dafoe?
Except William Dafoe.
Yeah.
Just like there is no other Joker than Jack Nicholson.
In live action.
Yeah, live action. Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah, Stan Lee, Steve Ditko, Marvel Legends, they created him, and he first appeared in The Amazing Spider-Man number 14.
Who was in the other 13 that mattered? Because this is the only guy that matters.
He's the Joker to Batman, the Green Goblin to Spider-Man. It's just how it works, right? I mean, even when you was talking earlier, you immediately, when you was referencing Willem Dafoe to Green Goblin, you referenced Jack Nicholson to Joker. That's just how synonymous it goes, right? Hey, Amazing Spider-Man 14. Well, here's the crazy part. You want to know what's even crazier than this?
I love crazy stuff. Let's hear it.
Okay, so
I always say that because I know because I'm crazy, but still.
Okay, it's crazy that you're saying who else was Spider-Man facing in the first 13 comics, but you got to understand something. This is the Amazing Spider-Man 14. Spider-Man was introduced in the Amazing Fantasy comics. So Spider-Man had a whole bunch more comics.
In this run, though.
What's I'm saying? Green Goblin wouldn't have even been introduced in Amazing Fantasy. That's what I'm saying. It's until how long Spider-Man was around before Green Goblin, and that feels weird to say.
Which came first, Hobgoblin or Green Goblin?
A Green Goblin for sure. There's reasoning behind that. We'll get into that in season 2 when we talk about Hobgoblin.
Because Hobgoblin always freaked me out.
I'm not entirely sure he was a mad
Green Goblin freaked me out, but Hobgoblin was like on a whole different level of insanity to me, personally.
Right.
And that was just a whole different thing. But like Green Goblin, did him and Hobgoblin ever actually fight?
Yes. At least in the animated series they did. They tussle a couple times.
Because they were fighting over who got to kill Spider-Man, I think.
It's been so long. If I'm right, don't quote me on this again. I don't want to get too much into Hobgoblin because that may be a season 2 Heroic Haunts character we look into. Don't quote me on this. I think Mark Hamill voiced Hobgoblin in the animated series.
Who did?
Mark Hamill, I think.
Maybe.
But I'm not 100. We're here to talk about Norman, okay? We don't care about Hobbs. We care about Greens. That's right. Okay, the original and best known incarnation of Green Goblin. His abilities include superhuman strength, stamina, durability, agility, reflexes due to ingesting the goblin formula. Again, it's all about the serums, the formulas, the taken. This has gone wrong. He's got regeneration, genius level intellect. He's a proficient scientist, a master. How proficient can he be if he screwed this up? Master hand-to-hand combatant and martial artist. I didn't know that. Utilizing goblin-themed weapons and a goblin glider. He likes his theming. Let's keep it all. Pumpkin bombs, goblin glider, goblin, goblin, gobble, 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 gobble. Yeah, I don't. That's my only thing, and I'm gonna get into the origin here, but I'm not.
I think I just
100
subconsciously figured out why I like Green Goblin more than I do the rest of his rogues gallery. He's the only one not based off a freaking animal. Mostly.
There's a few others.
I mean, you got Kingpin, obviously, and
An Electro, Shocker, Venom, Carnage.
yeah, but Venom could be compared to a snake, even though I'm pretty sure there is a snake. King Cobra?
Well, there's Lizard.
There's Lizard.
There is Chameleon, and there is. See, within Marvel, there's a group called the Serpent Society, but they kind of fight everybody.
But Spider-Man's main villains are mostly based off
Right. You got Rhino. You've got
Vulture.
Lizard. You've got Vulture.
Scorpion.
Scorpion. Chameleon.
Scorpion's kind of cool to me, even though he is lame in the most incarnations.
Craven might as well be an animal.
An Acid Tail's pretty dope.
Batman has a snake villain, Copperhead.
Yeah.
Which I'd forgotten about until we was talking about it. But anyhow, Norman, little Norman Osborn was born in in New Haven, Connecticut, as the son of a wealthy industrialist, Amberson Osborn. What a name! Well, you can always tell like the rich, evil parents, like Amberson Osborn, and then Kirk's dad was Abraham Langstrom. Like these old school, like you just know their dads were like scumbags. Like not saying that not to knock anybody with names Amberstrom or
I've never heard the
Abraham.
name Amberson, so I don't know that we're in any fear of that.
But in like Abraham Lincoln, obviously, like Abraham's not immediately a bad name. I'm not saying that, but when you're in a comic book and they got a name like Abraham Langstrom and they're a pharmaceutical lab technician or whatever, or you've got a industrialist Amberson Osborn, like you just know. You know. Amberson, a brilliant student in the field of science, became an alcoholic after losing control of a manufacturing company and fortune. Became physically abusive toward the family. See, we knew. Norman quickly came to despise his father. Well, I mean, if you get knocked around, I don't think he was going to fall in love. Resolving to be a better breadwinner while developing early homicidal tendencies as a means of relieving stress of his father's abuse.
Okay, let's stop right there for a second.
Yeah.
How does murdering things
relieve stress?
Relieve stress, yes.
Especially stress of abuse. Right. Homicidal tendencies as a means of relief.
I'm not a psychiatrist and never ever want to be because that's just not a thing for me, but it's how? Just how? Right. Well, Dad beat me today. I guess I'm going to go choke Spot out in the backyard.
Right. But he was determined to be a better breadwinner than his. He never said he's like, I'm not going to be a better person. I'm still going to kill the hell out of people and chase around this teen boy swinging around my town, my son's best friend. But I'm going to make better money. I'll make more money. That's all that matters. I'll make more money than my dad and still be a psychopath while doing it. He's got goals. In his adulthood, with the help of his college professor, Mendel Strom,
we won't even go there.
He co-founds the chemical company Oscorp Industries and establishes himself as CEO and president. Sounds like Mendel got screwed. Like he co-founded it with Mendel.
Wouldn't a CEO and a president on top of it just seem so unused?
Yeah, right. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like,
what? I don't even know.
What's freaking Mendel doing? He co-founded
it. He probably
it with
dies. Read on.
All right, let's see here. The company was hugely successful, and Norman regained the wealth that he had lost during his childhood. Hoping to gain more control of Oscorp Industries, Osborne accused Strom of embezzlement and had his partner arrested and shares in his company sold to him. He's alive. He just
Well,
arrested and
when
accused of embezzlement.
we start getting shares, you're an embezzler. I'm just saying.
Fair enough. Searching his former mentor's possessions, Norman discovers an experimental strength intelligence enhancement formula. But in attempting to create the serum, it turns green and explodes in his face. That sounds like a metaphor for life. Sometimes it turns green and explodes in your face. Turns you into, I want to say it turns you into a psychopathic goblin person, but it sounds like he was well on his way there to begin with. It just changes the color of his skin complexion a little bit, you know. So yeah, the accident greatly increases intelligent and physical abilities as intended, but also has the side effect of driving him into self-destructive insanity, just like his father from years ago.
So,
Talking about the apple dropping from the tree.
he's already murdering things. Feel better
Right, right.
to relieve stress. I mean, that right
Well,
there is about as self-destructive as you can
it
get.
didn't specify. It said homicidal tendency,
Well,
which I'm sure there's
I'm going all the way
backstory
with
there,
it.
but yeah.
So, on top of that, and then he gets self-destructive insanity.
Right.
He
Just like his
he
dear old
just
dad.
got one of his friends thrown in prison for embezzlement. That's pretty
Right.
insane as
And then
is.
bought his shares of the company. The company that was already named after him, that he was already president of and CEO of. Why did he need Mendel's shares? The
To
dude
control it
is
all
a
the way.
class A sociopath.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
100%. It's because of the implications.
Don't start with the implications. I got some fun facts for you. Let me get this pulled up here. Okay, so am I on the wrong thing here? Nope. For some reason, it started at the bottom of the page
Well,
for
I
my fun,
got this then. Fun facts. He didn't originally use a glider.
but I have details for you. So you read me off the titles, and I'll give you what he did have.
All right. What did he have a broom? Tell me he had a broom. Tell me he had a vacuum cleaner like in Hocus Pocus.
Very
Please.
close. Very close. You're not far off. Green Goblin's arsenal of weapons is iconic. The electric gloves, pumpkin bombs, gases, amazingly not his own flatulence, and razor bats have all been used by the goblins. But what about his menacing bat-shaped glider? Amazingly enough, this wasn't a part of the goblin's original bag of tricks. Rather than the vehicle Goblin is standing on, Norman Osborn originally used a jet-powered broomstick to maneuver around.
Oh my lord, he's a witch.
Instead of looking menacing, this machine made Osborn look like the least attractive old-timey girl riding a rocket ever. By the time of his second appearance in Amazing Spider-Man 17, though, he showed off his bat glider for the first time and has used variations of it since then. I did want to make a quick side note before we get too far, and to let everyone know that all of the research sources, all of the information that I've pulled today is coming from therichest.com, cbr.com, which is comic book resources, wikipedia.org, and Google Images. So keep that in mind. If you want to learn more, go to these companies, check them out, support them. That's where we're getting all the information that I'm using today, including our fun facts. What's fun
Which
fact number
leads us
2?
on to number 2. He tried to make Peter Parker the Green Goblin. Now, I wonder, was that before or after he knew that Peter was Spider-Man?
Well, I like you and I, Spider-Man. After a while, you just have to admit that the enemy who keeps defeating you is simply better than you. In 2000, Norman Osborn reached this conclusion about Peter Parker. If he couldn't beat him, he would have to make Parker join him as the heir to the Goblin legacy. Ah, poor Harry. The result of this scheme was one of the best Spider-Man stories ever. For 2 issues, Osborn beats Peter down psychologically by convincing him that the light will only hurt him, that the darkness is good and his only friend. It starts to work as Peter's spirit is near the end of its rope, and he's actually considering sipping the dreaded goblin formula. However, Peter's willpower wins out, and he throws the formula back in Norman's face and escapes the goblin's clutches. Give you points for creativity, Norman, but you got to do better on execution, my man. Honestly, I mean, it's pretty fascinating. It's an interesting thought, right?
Like, how I kind of want to read that comic because what could he have done to break Peter Parker to that
too.
point?
It's got me really curious to read that arc because, like, that's just it. To have him actually considering it, and literally by him saying, like, the light doesn't want you. Come to the dark side. We
We
have
got
cookies.
cookies.
We have cookies, Spider-Man. Do you have cookies? You don't have cookies.
You
You'd
got
never,
you got Aunt May's date loaf.
yeah, you'd never fit into that spandex with those cookies. Over here, our serums do all the fit keeping for us. They make us look good. I don't know. Well, I guess in Spider-Man's case and Captain America's case, I guess some of theirs the serum keeps them looking good too, right?
But I mean, honestly, it must have been something really bad to be able to push him that far.
Right. So that'll be one to look into. All right, what we got?
There have been 5 different Green Goblins. For
Right,
number
and some of
3.
these y'all may know. Some of these you guys may know. So we've got one true, one and only Norman Osborn. Okay, but that doesn't necessarily mean that there's only been one Green Goblin. While the eldest Osborn may be the closely associated to the role, there have been 4 other people, I'll explain later, that have taken up the mantle of Emerald Goblin. First up is Harry Osborn, his own son, dear old boy, dear old college boy, James Franco himself. Um, uh, yeah, so he spent most of his time as Goblin. He has spent the most time as Green Goblin outside of his dad. Next up is Bart Hamilton, one-time psychologist of Harry Osborn, who used his relationship with Harry to gain access to the Goblin equipment, but not the formula, but died quickly after trying to take over New York's underworld. So there's that psychologist thing coming back. So you're Harry Osborn psychologist, like, where did it all begin? Well, I guess it was when my dad became the Green Goblin and started killing people. And then it was probably when I became the Green Goblin and started killing people. Say, Harry, I got your bill for the day, but you could just let me borrow the glider and a couple bombs. And then, like, next day in the news, infamous psychologist is
Dead.
dead after flying around on a goblin glider, trying to take over New York's underworld. And Harry's just like, now I gotta find a new psychologist.
One that won't rat me out for killing people.
Right. Next we have Phil Ulrich or Urich. Phil Urich. The first person to take up the Green Goblin identity as a force for good. While his run didn't last long, he did add a new trick to the Goblin arsenal with a mask that shot sonic waves. Interesting.
A lot of villains like their sonic stuff anymore.
They really do. Yeah. Last and most certainly least, we have something. This lab experiment was created by Norman Osborn to throw off suspicion that Norman was a goblin to the public, and he eventually disintegrated into goop.
I think
So
I
it was like
remember
a
that.
weird clone. Yeah, it feels oddly familiar. Yeah. I think the next fun fact is a really fun fact here. I really like this. I don't understand it. I've not read the actual details, but I've got them here.
He also called himself Mr. Coffee. That's a lawsuit waiting to happen.
No, your eyes do not deceive you. I believe this owes a little bit of an explanation. In 2002, a storyline called A Death in the Family, that definitely sounds like a lawsuit waiting to happen. Not to be confused with the iconic Batman story with the same name. Norman Osborn attempts to push Spider-Man to his breaking point and get Peter to kill him. The heck? Suicidal. After a mentally and physically tiring fight, the Goblin and Spidey sit down to have a little chat about their relationship, and then seemingly out of nowhere, Norman drops the bombshell that would rock the Spider-Verse for years to come. One really has to wonder why Marvel hasn't made an alternate universe where Mr. Coffee takes on his arch nemesis, the over-anxious Starbucks customer. So he considered calling himself Mr. Coffee instead of Green Goblin. The serum had nothing to do with coffee. Oh well.
And lastly, and I don't know that it's going to be that much of a thing, but his original concept was way different.
All right, buckle up because I did read this one. So his original concept would have put him on on a different episode of Heroic Haunts. We got a different episode of Heroic Haunts coming up, y'all. Spoiler alerts, teases, whatever you want to call it. But if they would have went with his original concept, Norman would have made it onto a very different list. According to Spider-Man co-creator Steve Ditko, Stan Lee's original concept for the character in Amazing Spider-Man number 14 was something completely different than what we got. Instead of Green Goblin being a human being, mad scientist that he was, Stan Lee wanted the Goblin to be an ancient mythological demon. Ditko, though, wisely stepped in and changed the story so that Goblin was a human instead. Osborn's identity as the Goblin wasn't revealed until Amazing Spider-Man number 39. The first Spider-Man story without Ditko, but it was only because of Ditko that the door for Norman Osborn to become one of the greatest villains in fictional history was made open. So he's going to be an ancient mythological demon, which now granted, Norman Osborn went on to lead the Dark Avengers and the Thunderbolts for a time. He had a very long career in villainy and Lex Luthor style kind of antics and stuff, even outside of Green Goblin. Once he gave up the Green Goblin, he went on for a while, but I still kind of would like that alternate universe where he's an ancient mythological demon, like Sans horror movie style, Wishmaster style.
The last run of Spider-Man stuff that me and you talked about a couple of years back. It's been when Doc Ock takes over Peter's body.
Oh, Superior Spider-Man, yeah.
Was it Green Goblin that killed Spidey that made that happen?
Maybe.
I don't remember who killed Spidey.
It's been a while. Yeah, I don't even. It was really weird.
I don't know if it was Norman Osborn or not, though. It could have been Harry.
True. Doc Ock is another one that definitely mad scientist level, and I do want to talk to him when we do a season 2 of Feral Cons, because I do love Doc Ock, but it's just, again, we had to choose our battles here. But when we do get to discuss Doc Ock in an episode, ooh boy, let me tell you, that's a rabbit hole to go down. This is the dude that married Aunt May for a while, like craziness. All right. So
it says here, Spider-Man died while catching a car that then exploded because of a goblin or a pumpkin bomb.
Well, there you go.
I just don't know which version of it was. Doesn't say.
Okay. So we're coming to our last and most definitely not least. Yeah, one of the most iconic mad scientists, one of the most fear-driven, terrifying, shockingly wicked and vile. Just when you think Halloween-themed supervillains and comic book villains that started as mad scientists, kind of lost their way, you're going to think none other than Dr. Jonathan Crane. I'm talking the Scarecrow. Created by Bill Finger and Bob Kane, he made his debut in World's Finest Comics number 3, September 1941. What'd you say?
I said, what a name, Bill Finger.
Bill Finger and Bob Kane, that's right.
Bob Kane is a well-known person in the comic universe.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he created Batman. Other than the whole controversy thing.
Yeah.
There's a whole controversy around it, but, he's notable mainly for creating Batman. But, yeah, this was in the World's Finest Comic number 3, September 1941.
We would not be born for 50 years, my friend.
Jeez. Scarecrow's 50 years older than us.
Literally. He is the self-proclaimed master of fear. The Scarecrow is a former professor of psychology who uses a variety of experimental toxins and psychological tactics, which I'll get into that because he does some crazy stuff in that DC game me and you used to play, the DC Online.
Yeah.
He uses psychological tactics to exploit the fears and phobias of his victims and adversaries, especially Batman's. He does not commit his crimes for wealth, but rather for the thrill and power of terrifying people.
The scariest part, right?
Yeah, he's not doing it for anything other than to scare people. Just to scare people. Giggles.
Again, this is legit the most like Halloween apt villain in a way because he's all about the scare, baby. Everybody's entitled to one good scare, and Scarecrow's going to give you as many as you can handle.
He does this to conduct research to further the study of the effects of fear on humans, making the Gotham city citizens, his unwilling guinea pigs for his.
Oh, so he's just trying to win the Nobel. Come on, guys. It's all for the stuff. It's research. That's the age-old question. You come in, your parents come in, you're on your laptop. Well, you got the research. It's a scarecrow. It's just it's just spraying somebody. It's like, what are you doing there? Oh, research. What are you talking about? It's research. Totally. I'm not dousing this guy with fear gas for my own benefit. I ain't getting paid to do this. I'm doing it for y'all,
Just doing it for funsies.
No fun, officer. I'm research. Well, I got a science lab project due on Monday, and says here should start by dousing everyone with fear toxin and find out what their greatest phobia is. I'm exposing him to his fear so he can overcome his fear. It looks like he's coiled up in the fetal position on the ground. That's stage 1. Okay, he's got 5 more stages to go. So Jonathan Cain was actually bullied at school for his resemblance to Ichabod Crane, who you famously referenced in a tweet recently, talking about Washington Irving's The Legend of Sleepy Hollow.
Hey man, it's one of my. You remember when the movie came out all them years ago? We were probably 10 or 11.
You talking the animated or the Johnny Depp one?
No, even further than
Tim
that.
Burton.
Way back.
So the
Way
animated, the
back.
Disney one, the Adventures
No,
of
it
Ichabod.
was. I watched it on pay-per-view when you had to put a phone cord into the satellite box. We're talking that way back.
Jeez.
Like,
See,
we were probably
9
or 10. But I went to my cousin's house and we watched. It's the one where towards the beginning, when the headless horseman cuts the guy's head off, it rolls into the guy's crotch. Maybe it is a Johnny Depp one, but I don't know. Because it was more of a serious movie than.
Was it live action or animated?
Live action.
So it may have been the Johnny Depp one. I don't know, but yeah.
But it was a great movie. It freaked me out. We watched it, me and my cousin watched it on pay-per-view. And it was pretty darn wild. And it stuck with me for years and years and years. It's one of my favorite folklores. It's everything about it is just Halloween. It's the perfect Halloween story.
Right. It has everything that you could want.
And it shows how the curse works, because like the minute he goes across that bridge, he just dissipates.
It just dissipates.
It's really cool.
And holy ground, he can't go on holy ground either when he gets to the church and stuff.
God knows he can throw stuff over there.
Right. So poor old Jonathan Crane. Right, never safe. And neither was Jonathan Crane, because he looked like Ichabod Crane. He was lanky, kind of, lanky kid, kind of nerdy, geeky kid. But this ended up sparking his lifelong obsession with fear and using it as a weapon against others. In his senior year, Crane is humiliated by school bully Bo Griggs and rejected by cheerleader Sherry Squires. He takes revenge during the senior prom by donning his trademark scarecrow costume and brandishing a gun in school parking lot. In the ensuing chaos, Griggs gets into a car accident, paralyzing himself and killing Squires. Crane's obsession with fear leads him to become a psychologist after taking a position at Arkham Asylum. So he actually was one of the doctors at Arkham. He was a psychologist helping other people, because that makes sense. This is after the incident at his school.
But it doesn't say he got caught doing it. He just did it.
Right, but because he was wearing the costume.
He was wearing a costume, so nobody would have known.
Who
would know?
Nobody's
going to know.
I do want to make note that this is actually really terrifying, because
in our day and age, it's very possible.
Real, right? School shootings and stuff are It's a terrible tragedy that happens way more than it should.
See, when we were in school, you heard about it maybe once every 5 or 6 years. Now it's almost like it's every year.
Right. But even back, like I said, even when we were kids, when you did hear about it, it was just, it's a gut-wrenching thought and experience, because it's just, there's no words for tragedies like that. And my heart and our sympathies and condolences do go out with anybody that's ever experienced or went through that.
or
And
any
that's
kind of fear of that
or
sort.
any kind
Because
of shooting, yeah, or active shooter scenario. But that's what I'm saying. That's what makes his character so dark. Is I didn't
I
even
think
know.
for some people and other comic book enthusiasts
Mhm.
and just people that like the animated series, like if you're just a fan of any kind of Batman thing, even the games, you can connect to some of these characters, especially
Right.
like Scarecrow or even the Joker, even though his skin is bleached because of an accident. Like they're all on these more human, like that could happen level. You
Right,
connect to them.
because as bad as dark and tragic as him bringing a gun to school to get revenge, he's getting revenge because he was bullied, and bullying is a very serious issue, especially nowadays with the internet and cyberbullying and stuff. I mean, like you talked about in the previous episodes, we were bullied as kids. We got picked on a lot. So like,
Nobody picks on me now, though.
but that's what I'm saying. Like, it's easy to see, like you said, kind of the sympathy for the devil kind of thing. But it's never the answer. Taking someone else's life or endangering other people's lives, not the answer.
Not
There
at
is
all.
help. There's always a lot of forums and there's a lot of phone numbers and organizations specifically for those kind of causes. Um, and not take don't endanger anybody's life, including your own. We definitely you don't want to do that either.
There's
Um,
way more than enough people out there that will listen. Heck, shoot us messages. We'll listen. You're
yeah,
in
right.
need. I don't care one bit. You don't know me,
We'll
but
sit and
I
talk
got.
comics, video
You should see
games.
the demons in my closet. They
That's
uh
that's
they like
that's
to
for
hang.
another heroic haunt.
They like to hang around a little.
Yeah,
That's a
we
terrible.
will not go there.
Uh,
Crane's obsession with fear leads him to become a psychologist, taking a position at Arkham Asylum and performing fear-inducing experiments on his patients. He's getting free reign to just make the crazy crazier.
well, I mean, who's gonna stop him? Nobody's gonna know. They're gonna
He's
be
also
like,
a
he
professor
just
of
snapped.
psychology at Gotham University. He's he's a professor. Why not teach the insanity? He specializes in the study of phobias. He does lose his job after he fires a gun inside of a packed classroom, accidentally wounding a student. He takes revenge by killing the professors responsible for his termination and becomes a career criminal, thus spiraling
Why
him
did
on
he
a.
shoot?
I don't know. I don't know. It just says well, I mean, he's studying phobias. I guess I don't know. Like the dude's unhinged at that point.
Obviously. Uh,
Um,
his abilities do
Give us some
include
abilities.
genius in psychology and biochemistry, obviously, with the fear toxins. And interestingly enough, here lately, instead of a toxin, it's become more of an injection, more
Right.
so. He's a skilled wielder of farm tools, specifically his scythe, which I find interesting because it's one of my favorite weapons. Even if
Yeah.
it was used to cut grass way back in the day or hay, whatever.
Very unique and different. Yeah.
Well, the Grim Reaper is one of my favorite. Like, he's considered an angel of death, but whatever.
Supernatural type thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's an expert martial artist in hand-to-hand combat. So
Which is also fascinating.
how would he
You,
have time to do that?
right. Like
And he utilizes fear-induces gases and toxins.
very nice. Very nice.
I
Very
see.
nice.
Instead of fun facts, you have frightful facts for us, sir.
That's right. When I was looking for fun facts about Scarecrow or top 10 things you didn't know, I ended up stumbling upon a list of scariest things that Scarecrow has ever done. And I'm like, you know what? That's fun.
Oh yeah.
So, what's the first one on the list here? And I'll set you up on it.
He has sewn his face together, which I didn't know that.
Well, it's a more recent take. During the New 52, certain changes were made to Scarecrow's origin to really show just how crazy he was, because shooting up schools and shooting up colleges and experimenting on patients and all this other stuff wasn't enough. In the present day, Jonathan Crane is so insane and obsessed with fear that he sews his own lips together so that he himself resembles a scarecrow even without the mask. However, Crane kept the stitches very loose, ensuring that he would still be able to speak despite the strings in the way of his mouth. While this change was purely cosmetic, it is definitely one of the creepier things Scarecrow has done, especially in recent years.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Because also, how would he eat? comic book
Right.
character or not, you gotta eat.
Right.
I mean, look at
Like,
me.
I mean,
I love food.
I guess he could fit a straw through there. If he had him loose enough that he could, like, still talk a little bit, he could fit, like, a straw in there. You know,
Okay,
astronaut food, I guess.
eating a steak through a straw sounds awful.
Okay, but he's kind of a small framed guy, so, like, makes sense.
Whatever.
Also, you can inject a lot of that, like IV drips and stuff. He may just be as crazy as he is. He's probably just injecting like liquid food into his nutrients.
Nutrients, just. All right. He's experimented on college kids as if nobody's seen that one coming.
Right. After he became a licensed psychiatrist, he began experimenting on college kids. Thanks to his standing as a professor, the young adults made great candidates
At
for
least he
some of
wasn't
Crane's
sitting as a
earlier
professor.
theories of formulas. Right. During this time, Crane put his subjects under immense psychological torture, going so far as to pour spiders all over a student with arachnophobia or even shooting one of them. Hey, there's where that comes in.
That's probably what's wrong with that one.
Though he didn't directly kill any of his students, Crane was immediately fired once word got out about the things he was doing. And we seen what happened there. Then he went and killed the people that got him fired. So, like, he's like, well, I didn't kill the kid, but now I'm going to kill you.
Swings and roundabouts, ladies and gentlemen. Well, I mean, they caused him to lose test subjects. And he's a scientist. Crazy, but...
I was going to say they caused him to lose his tenure, but yeah, you're right, test subjects.
Well, yeah, he murdered his own grandmother.
This is dark, right? Like, most people, even if you're not, like, super close to your grandmother, like, it's your grandmother. Like,
Yeah, I'm
that's
pretty sure
a
my
sign
grandmother
of
hates my
super
guts, and I don't want her to do anything except
Right.
live.
Even before Crane began experimenting on his students, one of his first victims ever was his own grandmother. In his original origin, Crane's father was often absent, so he spent most of his time being raised by his grandmother. Unfortunately, his grandmother had proved to be a terrible and often abusive individual, contributing greatly to Crane's own psychological issues. Oh, well, I mean, many people may recognize Crane for his occasional quirk of speaking in nursery rhyme. This is directly resulting from the trauma that his grandmother put him through as a young boy. Though his grandmother certainly wasn't the best individual, the fact that Crane murdered her at such a young age is still horrifying. Like I said.
Yeah, that's out there, man.
Yeah, just a little
All
bit.
right, last and not least, during the Great War of the Lantern Corps, he received a Yellow Lantern ring during the Blackest Night.
If this dude wasn't bad enough of a fearmonger and terrible, terrifying character, now you give him a ring that gives him almost limitless power to do with it as he pleases. During the Blackest Night story, you already knew that one. I knew you knew that one.
I own every Blackest Night comic that Jeff Johns has ever touched. If Jeff Johns has touched a Green Lantern comic, I own it. At least in the last year since we've been alive.
So none of this is going to be news to you, probably, but it'll be a nice refresher. The entire DC universe was threatened by the Black Lantern Corps. As a result, several other Lantern Corps sent out other rings in order to recruit as many members as possible. Of course, a yellow ring, the color associated with fear. I wish I knew where my yellow ring was. I have a yellow lantern ring around here somewhere myself. They called me to help. I was busy, but it's okay.
Help them next time, champ.
They let me keep the ring, so I'm good. I am a bit of a Yellow Lantern Corps fan. I know. Oh, you're appalled.
Well, I mean, it doesn't suit you, to be honest, because you're so compassionate. You would be more of a Purple Lantern kind of person, but...
Right, but what color lantern do you think Levi Leather is for?
Red for rage, because all he does is freak out.
He does have a bit of underlying rage. That's a good point. Anyhow, I do like the Yellow Lanterns, though. I like Sinestro. Right? I think he's a very complex character. But Sinestro is one we'd have to get into in another time, too.
I will say this, though. Sinestro being the leader of the Yellow Lanterns is akin to Magneto being the leader of the Brotherhood. He's doing it the right reason, the wrong way. More or less. Basically.
So, of course, Jonathan Crane gets one because he's all about the fear. Of course, he's going to be getting a ring that's associated with fear. Crane, at this point in the DC Universe, was actually immune to any type of fear due to constant exposure to his own formula. when you stuff in your own product. With the yellow ring, however, Crane was once again able to experience the emotion. Thus, he was overjoyed for the little time he actually had the ring. Though Scarecrow accomplished little with the weapon, the fact that he was so excited to have it made it evident just how crazy he truly was. Like, he had become immune to fear, and the thing that made him happy was being able to be afraid again.
Well, I
I feel like there's a
remember when
life
I was
lesson there,
well,
but
when I was reading it, he was just like utterly depressed. Because he would just sit and inject himself and inject himself and inject himself. Never could get scared. And then that popped on, and he was like a kid in a candy store. It was in an oddly weird way for a fan of a Scarecrow. You felt joy for him because it's like he finally has something again in his life.
yeah, the picture they have on here is just terrifying. But yeah, it's fascinating stuff, dude. Like all three, like I mean, again, there's so many avenues with these mad scientists that you can go, and it's terrifying. Like I said, he is one of the ultimate, um, as akin to like you was saying, the headless horseman is to Halloween and myth lore and folklore. Kind of where Scarecrow is with comic book villains. When you think Halloween, when you think spooky, scary stuff. There was a recent movie came out, I think last year, called Happy Halloween Scooby Doo, and it had DC's Scarecrow from Gotham City. It had a whole crossover where Scarecrow, Dr. Jonathan Crane, was in Scooby Doo movie for Halloween, for a Halloween episode. Like, it doesn't get more calling him out than that. That he is an iconic Halloween character, imagery, the shocking, the fear. So far as in the video game Injustice 2, Scarecrow was actually voiced, Jonathan Crane was actually voiced by Robert Englund, who plays Freddy Krueger. Another very similar fear frenzy type character, which was just inspired
Oh,
casting, if you ask me.
I mean, the way look at the way they do Scarecrow in TV anymore. He's
Mhm.
been the villain for the first movie of Christopher Nolan's.
Right.
He was a villain in the last season 3 of Titans.
Yeah.
He's the big bad
He's a villain in Gotham for a little bit.
villain in Gotham. Like Scarecrow, for all intents and purposes, he's a big bad of Batman's without ever really like dealing with bats himself. Like he does, but he don't. He's always on the back trying to like just cause chaos. He's been weirdly enough a big issue for Gotham City, which just in some ways doesn't make any kind of sense, but it works.
Right. Let me see. I'm checking something here because I am curious. Man, why can I not?
And another thing I will note, he switched from gassing people, and I might have already said it, but he switched from gassing people to mainly injecting people now, which is even more potent, you would think. Because a
Okay,
gas you're breathing in, where that's going straight into your bloodstream and into your brain a lot quicker.
so this is completely subjective, but we had a thing earlier that was an IGN list. I didn't see that one on here, but we had a thing earlier that was talking about um uh uh where is this? Was it? No, that's somebody else doing it. Okay. Let me see something. Let me see if I can find it.
What are you trying to find that way? I can help you.
Okay, so I found it. I found the IGN one, which is what we want to go by. So we've seen the thing that back in 2017 or whatever that Man Bat was number 16, I think I said, on the Batman Rogues Gallery
All
ranking.
right.
Where do you think? Now, this article I found is on IGN, and it's the top 25 best Batman villains ranked. Um, where do you think Scarecrow landed? What's your prediction?
Probably number 4, to be honest.
This is interesting. So on IGN's, they have him ranked as number 10. But when I was looking for this, I did see another list that did have him ranked as number 4. So it's interesting. Let me. Oh, geez, my eye got something in my eye. Oh,
I unfortunately had ramen juice get in my eye the other day when I was making food. Very
awful.
painful.
So on IGN, they ranked him as number 10 and put above him was Poison Ivy, Riddler, Harley Quinn, Penguin, Mr. Freeze, Ra's al Ghul, Two Face, Catwoman, and of course Joker is number 1. Now in the list that I seen a minute ago was on comicvinegamespot.com by a user, a vlog user, or on their Joker Carnage 5. Did have Scarecrow listed as number 4 with only Hush, Joker, and Bane above him. So take that as you will. But yeah, fascinating. Fascinating stuff. But yeah, we got some good, excellent villains, excellent characters, excellent mad scientists listed out tonight. So before we move on, I will say that do you have any THOUGATS's on tonight's
You couldn't
theme
just say the
topic?
word?
Well, no, I had to spell it.
It's IT, buddy. Anyway, I'm a smart aleck. Did I have any thoughts? I actually enjoyed this one a lot because a lot of these characters I know quite a bit about.
A lot of fun.
And I am partial to DC, and since we stayed on the DC side of things, I was like, hey, I know what we're talking about. Now, Marvel
Fair
side,
enough.
I'm a little lost.
Yeah,
But
I get it.
these characters are some of the most iconic, fear-mongering villains. And I'm just saying, you see a guy flying around on a bat glider in the middle of the night, if you aren't a little freaked out, you're on a whole different level.
Right. And then you see a dude with his mouth sewn together approaching you with a scythe. You know. Or if you go by one of the versions where he has the glove with like the needle injectors on each hand, God, that's a nightmare for somebody like me who has a fear of needles.
Oh yeah, he's just a
Ugh.
bad day all around for you.
Right. And then you could just be minding your own and a giant freaky man bat comes down and lands in front of you and screams in your face and then says, "Oh, it's for the good of humanity."
All right.
You run away from him just to find his wife, who's about as bad. She bat.
Well, without giving any spoilers to the next one, we're gonna follow the old brick road and get out of here for
Yeah,
tonight.
I did make a reference to it earlier.
So we'll see how much you paid attention.
All right. So there's now been 2 references to tomorrow for the next video. So be on the lookout. Happy Halloween, happy haunting, everyone, and be sure to like, comment, subscribe, share, and as always, enjoy.
We will see you guys in the next one. See ya.
Bye.